Now lend me your ears. This is how to write a good short story. 1. Use the time of a total stranger in such a way that he or she will not feel the time was wasted. 2. Give the reader at least one character he or she can root for. 3. Every character should want something, even if it is only a glass of water. 4. Every sentence must do one of two things: reveal character or advance the action. 5. Start as close to the end as possible. 6. Be a sadist. No matter how sweet and innocent your leading characters, make awful things happen to them, in order that the reader may see what they are made of. 7. Write to please just one person. If you open a window and make love to the world, so to speak, your story will get pneumonia. 8. Give your readers as much information as possible as soon as possible. To heck with suspense. Readers should have such complete understanding of what is going on, where and why, that they could finish the story themselves, should cockroaches eat the last few pages. I had a family and wasn't making nearly enough money to support the family. So I started writing short stories on weekends, and there was an enormous magazine industry at that time which paid very high prices for stories, and they needed lots of them. A Saturday Evening Post published 5 a week, Collier's published 5 a week, Liberty published 5 a week, and they paid tons of money for them. And so I began that way, and I wrote one, and the Saturday Evening Post bought it and paid me 1/8 of what I was making at General Electric a year. And so I wrote another one, and they paid me more. And in a period of a few months, I had made more money than General Electric was prepared to pay me all year, as I had money piled up. I've never been this rich, as there was all this unused currency all over the house that would come by mail. And so that's how I began, and that opportunity doesn't exist now for American writers. The temptation of that big magazine money, too, was part of a learning machine. You are penalized immediately for any errors. And writing for the magazines, they told me an awful lot about how to tell a story. Because I would mail off a story and wait for the money to come, and the money wouldn't come. The story would come back instead, and they would tell me what was wrong with it. And they were right. I don't mind people calling me Kilgore, and most authors' reluctance about the books being about my life is authors conventionally say that, you know, that laymen are so stupid to think that I'm talking about my own life. My position is it's all I have to talk about, and I'll take full responsibility for having experienced every event in any book.
After these attacks, the German overseas news agency said, "Dresden is a heap of ruins. It has been smashed to atoms."
Slaughterhouse-Five was the only book I felt I really should write, because accidentally, as a captured American soldier in Germany, I was present when Dresden was destroyed. I had never seen any other city bombed. It seemed quite elaborate what I had seen there. When I got home, there was nothing in the newspapers about the bombing of Dresden. And so I had to conclude that I really hadn't seen anything very fancy in the war. And as the years went by, it emerged that this was the largest single massacre in European history. 100,000 people or more were killed in a world record time. I don't think human beings had ever been killed that fast, as they weren't killed that fast in Nagasaki or Hiroshima. Since I had been there, and since I was a professional writer, I thought, all right, I must say something about this. And so I tried and I tried and I tried, And I wrote parts in a novel suitable for Duke Wayne and Frank Sinatra and perhaps Douglas Fairbanks Jr., and it would not work, and it would not work. And I thought the problem was that there was no discussing a massacre on this order. And then a friend of a war buddy of mine gave me the clue as to how to write this book. What she said was, "You were only children then." So I made my heroes the children that I had in fact been, and all my friends had been over there, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds. The thing worked.
I experimented with the science fiction idea. Using it for relief is to get some distance from an atrocity of this sort, to see how much it really matters in the long view. And the science fiction thing seemed to work, and it seemed to be amusing, and it seemed to lighten the whole enterprise, so I kept it in.
Well, there's no reason why the simple shapes of stories can't be fed into computers. They are beautiful shapes. This is the GI axis, good fortune, ill fortune. Sickness and poverty down here, wealth and boisterous good health up there. Here's the very middle. Now, this is the BE axis. B stands for beginning. E stands for electricity. Now, this is an exercise in relativity, really. Is the shape of the curves is what matters and not their origins. So we'll start a little above average. Is why get a depressing person? We'll start... The whole thing, we call this story Man in Hole, but it needn't be about a man, and it needn't be about somebody getting into a hole. But it's just a good way to remember it. Somebody gets into trouble, gets out of it again. People love that story. They never get sick of it. All right, not copyrighted. Another story, also a beautiful curve and easily fed into a computer, called Boy Gets Girl, but it needn't be that. Just a way to remember it. Start on an average day, average person, not expecting anything to happen a day like any other. Find something wonderful, just loves it. Oh, God damn it. Got it back again. People like that. Now, these are beautiful curves, and this gets a little complicated. Computers can now play chess, so I don't know why they can't digest this very difficult curve I'm going to draw for you now. And it so happens that this is the most popular story in our civilization, Western civilization. As we love to hear this story, every time it's retold, somebody makes another $1 million. You're welcome to do it. Now, surprisingly enough, I've said it's depressing. You know, people don't like stories about below average days and people. But we're going to start way down here. Worse than that, who is so low? It's a little girl. What's happened? Her mother has died. Her father has remarried a vile-tempered, ugly woman with two nasty daughters, big daughters. You've heard it. See? Anyway, there's a party at the palace that night. She can't go. She has to help everybody else get ready. She has to stay home. Now, does she sink lower? No. She's a staunch little girl, and she has had the maximum whack from fate, which is the loss of her mother. She can't go any lower than that. Okay, so the fairy godmother comes. Gives her shoes, gives her stocking, gives her mascara. Gives her a means of transportation, goes to the party, dances with the prince, has a swell time. Boring, 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 boring. Now, there's a slight inclination to that line as I've drawn it because it takes perhaps 20 seconds, 30 seconds for a grandfather clock to strike 12. Does she wind up at the same level? Of course not. she will remember that dance for the rest of her life. Now, she poops along on this level till the prince comes, the shoe fits. She achieves off-scale happiness.